What was the meeting?
It was a you know what? I don't think I could.
Come on.
Fuck. That was not the important part of the story.
I know, but if there's a job in it for me, that is important. It's an important question for me to ask.
There is a job in it for you.
Oh, is it porn? Because I live in the Valley. I see porn stars all the time.
No, but there's a part for you. It was stunning. I've had it like, I never like want to be happy because you always wait for the other shoe to drop and shit.
Right.
But it's been a wonderful week for me. That episode of The Flash aired that I directed.
Yeah, did you guys see that? Did you see his Flash? Boy, that was good. Well done, sir.
I've never fucking done anything in my life that had more people going, holy shit, good job. Like 22-year career, man. Not even in the beginning when they liked me and shit. Never had anybody react like to something like the episode of The Flash. So it's like, doing that has opened up weird doors. And since I came back from The Flash, there are like 3 projects that I set up. And the one that I was going in on today was pretty fucking massive. Goes back to my like childhood and shit like that. I don't think I.
And it was.
I can't fucking.
Oh, just fucking say it.
I was meeting with MGM.
Yes.
MGM. They had this fucking. When you walk in, there's like a
Wizard of Oz 2.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah.
They got a deep library, man. That's not just the MGM movies. It's movies they've acquired over years and years and shit. And so, does anybody? Not everyone knows this movie, but does anyone know the movie? The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
Oh, yeah, I love that film. Peter Weller, right? Buckaroo Banzai?
One of my favorite movies in the world, and largely responsible for the weird shit that I make, because that movie was supposed to be one thing, but it did it in another way. It just did it very off-center.
Right.
So I've loved it for years. It was a movie I had to hunt down. Like when I first heard about it, read about it in Starlog, there was no internet or anything like that. Wanted to see this movie, and then suddenly it was in a theater and out of a theater, so like I was the first to get it. I kept going in the video store and being like, do you guys have Buckaroo Banzai? And they're like, never heard of that and shit. And then finally one day the guy was like, I saw it in a catalog, so we'll have it in like 3 months. And they put up this was back in the day.
I know. Can you imagine waiting 3 months for a movie?
Isn't it weird, man? Like when back then a stream was something you sat beside with a fishing pole and shit. So, you know, I remember they put up a poster. I was like, can I get that fucking poster? The point is I've loved this movie forever. Because did the episode of The Flash and suddenly I had a foot in television, I guess, which was a signal like, oh, he'll fucking do TV or something like that, which is weird because I've been doing TV for 6 seasons now. We got renewed for Comic Book Men as well.
Right,
but
yeah.
that's different. Thank you. Very tepid. Yeah, I've seen that show once. But nothing scripted. Suddenly, like I kind of got pulled into the scripted world, dove in head first as well. MGM said, hey, we hear that you like Buckaroo Banzai. They heard that because of a fucking podcast I did in New York, in Lincoln Center, where we did an episode of Smooviola with Peter Weller and John Lithgow and watched Buckaroo Banzai, and I talked about how much I loved it and shit like that. So they called my agent and they're like, we think we'd like to talk to him about, you know, we did with Fargo. We took Fargo and turned it into a TV show, and it's won awards and shit. They were like, we have another property that we want to do that with, and we were wondering if he's interested. He's ever heard of Buckaroo Banzai. So my agent called me up and he was like, you ever heard of a movie called Buckaroo Banzai? And I was like,
you wish, by the way. You wish that was yeah.
But it was
I don't know
very
what you're
dramatic.
dropping on that table, but
It was very dramatic. I was like, and he was like, you know this? I was like, dude, this was my childhood. This is why, one of the reasons I make fucked up movies, why I can't be like JJ and shit. A, I'm not talented, and B, because Buckaroo Banzai was the shit that appealed to me. It's like, they didn't do it straightforward. They did it very left of center and shit. Very funny movie, very weird.
Yes.
So, because of the weird movies, like I've been doing lately, Tusk, fucking Yoga Hosers, and because I dove into TV, suddenly people went 2 + 2 = 5. Let's have them come in. So I went in, met with those cats, and we talked about like, what would you do to turn it into a series? That's what we want to turn it into.
That's a cool.
And
idea.
so I was like, oh my Lord, like, well, I've loved this movie forever. If you were going to do that, basically you just do the entire movie for season 1, and then season 2, you finally do the sequel we've all dreamed about, Buckaroo Banzai versus the World Crime League and shit. So we went back and forth, and before we knew it, we were in business together. So we finished this deal to develop Buckaroo Banzai. And the next month, we take it out and try to find a home for it. But these cats are very good at finding homes for things. And there's already some like, oh shit, like people kind of heard early and have asked. So if all goes well, I think we'll be doing Buckaroo Banzai as a series.
How
man.
cool is that?
Wild?
Man? Congratulations.
Thank you. So we'll see, knock wood. But, you know, in this town, it's like you get this far, it's kind of fucking cool. It's all about like, we pushed it this far, we pushed it this far. So the next thing is finding a network home for it, man. But I'm excited as shit. It's fine. It's crazy. I'm going to reach out to the guy that created all the entire world. If you don't know anything about it, it's this amazing fucking sci-fi movie, kind of. It's very sci-fi, but it's really...
It's also like superhero, too.
Very comic book. Yeah. It was its own franchise, all in one flick, and it was meant to like go on, but it just kind of lived and died with this movie that never found an audience, and the studio that released it didn't know what to do with it, really. So it's found its audience long since on video, and for years they've talked about maybe a sequel, but they're like, the TV show is the way to go. So I would reach back to everybody who was in the show and bring them in as well, not playing the same characters probably, but playing the bad guys. That's what I would kind of do. Like Peter Weller, if you know the world of Buckaroo Banzai, there's a Joker-like character, his Lex Luthor, that they didn't put in the movie, but he's in the comic books, he's in the novelization by Earl McRock, the guy who I would reach out to and be like, come help me with this. A guy named Hanoi Shan is the guy who killed his parents and shit.
Right.
That's right away. I'd go to Peter Weller and be like, dude, play Hanoi Shan, because he's the guy in real life. Peter Weller is the guy that made Buckaroo Banzai by his performance. He is Buckaroo Banzai. So it'd be kind of cool that, like, in our mythology, he made Buckaroo Banzai because he's the one that kills his parents. So we flipped the script. Peter can play a villain. We've seen him do it in the Star Trek movie and stuff. Right. And he's a real fucking sweet guy. That podcast I did about Buckaroo Banzai, I did another one out here with him about The Dark Knight Returns when that came out. And he was so fucking sweet. When I introduced him, I was like, Peter Weller. And he grabs the mic. He's like, let me tell you a story about this guy in the hockey jersey. He's going, I don't know who the hell he was a few months ago. And he's going, we went to Lincoln Center and we did this thing. And like, you know, this movie, nobody ever understood it. I still don't get it. They wanted me and Lithgow to introduce it, and both of us were baffled. And so all of a sudden, this guy in the hockey jersey gets up and eloquently spits out 5 minutes worth of material about this movie. I turned to Lithgow. I was like, if this fat guy was here when the movie was out, we would have made billions. So he's a sweet dude. So I hope to pull him into it as well. If he doesn't want to do it, if he's like, that's what I used to do, because he's now a doctor, like a PhD doctor.
Right.
You know, maybe he doesn't want to act or something, or particularly do something that he'd done before. But if we could find a way to weave him in an original way, that'd be badass. But anyway, there is a fucking role for you, my friend.
Yeah.
And there's a role for me, for Jay Muse, like everybody. I'll be able to kind of put into roles. I want me, and if you remember the movie, the Red Lectroids, the ones that like were played by Christopher Lloyd played one.
Right.
That was John Big Booty.
Schiavelli.
Yes, Vincent Schiavelli. I would play the John Big Booty role, and Muse would be the Schiavelli role.
Oh, that's smart.
So like already I'm like, oh my God, we could do this, put on the rubber makeup. Like, it's all the shit I've been doing lately is perfect training for this. It's kind of exciting to me. So I don't know. I didn't mean to share it tonight. Sorry. We should be laughing in a comedy club, but
no, it's good. That's great news, man.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
you dragged it out of me. All right, so on with the show. Fuck that.
All right.